Ladies and gentlemen, the wait is finally over. The Blues have won a hockey game, 3-2 final against the Edmonton Oilers. Welcome to Blues Central Post Game. A little bit more upbeat this time, Mike, because of the recent events. But as always, we are here, we are loud, and we are proud to be St. Louis Blues fans and proud to be on the other side of the result tonight. Blues Central Post Game on STL Sports Central and always powered by DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Mike, give me your initial knee-jerk reaction to tonight's game. St. Louis Blues defeating the Edmonton Oilers, a Stanley Cup contender by all accounts. Connor
Boys, we got the
McDavid,
win.
Leon Draisaitl. Are we living in a simulation? Did this actually happen tonight, or did I just fall asleep early and I'm dreaming? I'm going to wake up to some doom and gloom.
Nope, this actually happened. Dalibor Dvorsky here gets the goal. Jimmy Snuggerud here looks like Himmy Snuggerud, and you get the win here against the Edmonton Oilers. Man, I said this here, a couple weeks ago that they looked good, that they played a complete game. This was as close to a complete game here, I think, that you actually have seen all season long. Jordan Binnington here just looked lights out. A little bit here of a shaky at first, like a second period. That first goal was weak, but man, I am stoked that the Blues got that large piano off their back, and I think that you're gonna be able to see some great stuff here just moving forward. This was a monumental game here from them. So yeah, absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I think we can all collectively say as Blues fans, there was never a doubt among us. It was always Stanley Cup or bust. It was always Calder Trophy, Jimmy Snuggerud, and it was always Robert Thomas, who came back into the lineup tonight after missing a few games with an injury. And my God, just goes toe-to-toe against the best in the entire NHL, Connor McDavid, tonight, and gave him a run for his money. I mean, both of them were balling out, had fantastic games. I think McDavid had 2 assists on the night. But, I mean, what can you say about Robert Thomas and the energy that he brings to this squad? I mean, we talk about it time and time again, but when this team is looking and searching to find that spark, it feels like they are always looking to him because he is the catalyst and the engine that runs this team. And just immediate dividends as soon as he enters back into the lineup. You see Dvorsky gets his first career goal on an absolute missile on the power play, which we've seen time and time again in the AHL, but that's the first time we saw it in the NHL. So hopefully we see some more from it. And like you said, fantastic game from Jimmy Snuggerud, who continues to, trend in the right direction in his Calder Trophy campaign. There's a lot to be excited for if you're a Blues fan. You can talk about spin zone all you want and the fact that they are just coming off of a ridiculous losing streak. But I think you're right, Mike. I think this is we were talking about trends in the right direction, even going back to the overtime losses in the last couple of performances down here in this stretch, but now they finally get the result to go with it. And the puck luck too. I mean, Robert Thomas's goal goes off the post, goes off the goaltender and into the back of the net. So we talked about the Blues just being unlucky in some of these games. And by all accounts, they have been outplayed, especially going back to the beginning of the season. They were embarrassed and, just as much as you like, just down and out in these games and had no business being close. And that's why we saw the results that we saw. But there were some games where they just weren't getting puck luck, and it felt like the puck was kind of bouncing their way tonight, as well as the officials down the stretch there. There were definitely some calls, and it happened throughout the course of the game too. Like, it felt like they were just kind of letting the boys play, which is always nice and always benefits the Blues because they play that physical style of hockey. But there were a couple, tripping calls that I think were missed.
Should have been.
So, let's take the result and take the win, but also let's look at the film and, look at things we need to shore up, which is when dire moments, when there's 5 minutes or less in the game, maybe let's stay at them about keeping our sticks out of people's feet.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm going to level here with you guys. I'm not going to be as smooth here as Thomas here with these ad reads, but I think before we get too terribly much here into this, I got to be able to say that Blue Central here postgame is brought to you by our business banking partners over at Home Bank. From business lending to everyday banking, Home Bank has been with us here since day one as a trusted partner. Business isn't just about numbers, it's about relationships. And with Home Bank, these relationships make all of the difference. Home Bank is the team behind our team here at STL Sports Central. Visit myhomebank.com or call 855-577-2001. Home Bank, member FDIC, more than a bank, they're your business partner.
Brother, you're a natural. That was clean as hell.
Yeah, this was I was excited to hear about this. Again, like you said, we get the Dalibor Dvorsky goal. We have been seeing a ton of this here at the junior level. We have been seeing this here at the AHL level. This was something that, I mean, it was just a matter of time. He has come out just looking lights out, like he belongs here in the NHL. He belongs, he owns the part. And then Montgomery makes the slight little bit of a tweak here on the power play, putting up Jimmy Snuggerud and Dalibor Dvorsky here on the top line, and it pays immediate dividends. I mean, this was just a beautiful, patient play here from Robert Thomas in order to get the puck here back to the point here for Justin Falk. And Justin Falk, some great heads up play here to be able to get the puck back on over here to Dalibor Dvorsky for that beautiful one-timer. He had a great shot here just the other night, here at the end of the first period. And from my vantage point up in the press box, it didn't look like he got everything on it. He got enough just to at least be dangerous. But I think if you were used to seeing his one-timers, that it just didn't look like he got everything on it, or just enough of like what Dvorsky here usually gets. And tonight he got all of it. And again, like you said, we're hoping to be able to see it. And I think we see plenty of these one-timers here in the NHL. So this is a trend here in the right direction. We're seeing scoring here coming from the kids. I still want to see more scoring, though, here from the veterans. We're not really still seeing goals here from Jordan Kyrou. We're not really seeing the puck get put here in the back of the net here from Pavel Buchnevich. So there's some good that we can be able to take, but then there's also, I think I want to be able to be a little bit conservative and still say, guys, where's our vets?
So I guess I would say, are you concerned at all about that? Because it does feel like, I mean, even Suter a couple times tonight, like, was chomping at the bit on the doorstep, and obviously gets the game-winning goal, so fantastic for him. But it felt like he could have had, 2 or 3 tonight. And I think if Dylan Holloway came, kind of the same thing. Like, he's driving that offense, and it feels like he's doing everything but score right now. But at the end of the day, like, as Chat likes to remind us, like, this is a results-driven business, and you got to win games, and you got to put the puck in the back of the net. So, but it is also like, I get what you're saying, and it is kind of nervous, especially with, like, Braden Shen moved out of the center position tonight and played on the wing, which I think
I'm cool with.
I'm also cool with that, but I also think it's, it takes a little bit of responsibility off of his shoulders, and also tells you, like, what Jim Montgomery has been thinking of Suter's game, of Robert Thomas's game, of Dvorsky's game, and all of these guys. So, like, I don't want to say it's like a demotion for him, because really, like, I mean, you can slot Braden Shen into any spot in the lineup, but I think it just tells you a lot about, like, the level of play that Jim Montgomery's confidence is in with Dvorsky, and the situations that he's using him in too. Like, obviously on the power play, but, like, taking faceoffs in like, as the game, like, dwindles down, like, there's not a lot of young guys in the entire league that, like, get that level of confidence. But Jim Montgomery is a player's coach, and he's got these guys back regardless of how long these losing streaks go. And I think you can see it in the intermission when they're interviewing Dalibor Dvorsky, and he's just cheesing, like, the biggest smile you've ever seen on the kid after scoring his first career goal. But, like, he knows how hard he's worked to get to that point, and he knows how hard he's worked once he even got the opportunity to come slot himself into this lineup. And I think it's telling, like we talked about on the last couple of post games, Mike. We were like, well, what's going to happen when Robert Thomas comes back? What's going to happen when Jake Neighbors comes back? And I think this is another indication that Dalibor Dvorsky's going nowhere. And I think that smile was partially his first career goal, but also partially him thinking that he's inserting himself into this lineup, because he absolutely is.
Yeah, and Doug Armstrong here has always said that he wants, like, if he's going to call up these prospects, he wants them to be sure, like, they're going to stay. And Dvorsky has done a lot at the AHL level, and there's still plenty for him to be able to work on. I mean, he's a young kid. There's still absolutely just plenty for him to be able to work on, and I don't know what more that he necessarily needs to do here, other than just, still continue to work here, like, on his skating, and still continue to work here defensively. But he can also be able to take care of that here at the NHL level. And I think, with him playing that third line role here right now, this is going to be It's just good competition and a good level here of veterans and coaching staff that will, I think, speak a little bit clearer to him and maybe be a little bit more influential here to him than what they would potentially have over in Springfield. And that's not a knock here on Springfield. I just think that he needs that attention here just a little bit more here from the guys who are at the tip top level than what the AHL could be able to provide here for him.
Really quickly too, not because there's so much going on today that we haven't even talked about the fact that the Blues made a trade, acquired Calle Rosen for Corey Schooneman, I believe. You know, obviously just kind of moving parts on a ship that's trying to stop sinking and move in the right direction, which obviously tonight's win is a move in the right direction there. But Mike, what were your initial reactions to seeing that Calle Rosen could essentially be back in the fold with the St. Louis Blues? Do you see him spending time in the AHL, or do you see him, you know, potentially getting a spot in the NHL? Or did you just see it like Doug Armstrong making a move, being like, you guys better figure it out, because if not, I'm going to find somebody that hasn't gotten the opportunity yet to get the opportunity?
I don't necessarily think that this is going to be a move that's going to really be able to affect the NHL here really anytime soon. I think that this is going to, you know, Corey Schooneman has been great. He's been very reliable here in the AHL, but this could obviously be something like where Corey Schooneman wanted out. This could have been something where Calle Rosen was requesting a trade. Like, you know, we don't necessarily know like what was all going on behind the scenes here with that. But at the same point in time, I don't see, like, unless for some reason either Kessel goes down here with an injury, you know, Mailloux goes down here with an injury, I think those two are just going to be a lock for the number 6 spot here on the defensive pairings. So Calle Rosen, I think, is just going to be a part here of the struggling Springfield Thunderbirds roster here just for the remainder here of the season. That's my initial thoughts. I don't see him getting brought up unless that there's an injury.
Do you think Calle Rosen provides the opportunity, like in the event that Logan Mailloux still continues to struggle defensively, to like send him down to the AHL? That's kind of what I was thinking. And like the familiarity, I think, with the Blues front office and their squad. I mean, the last time that Calle Rosen was in a Blues jersey and he played more than 6 games, he played 49 games and he was a plus 19 for the squad. So, and that was when the Blues were still struggling defensively, like they have been since Pietrangelo left. So I think it's just, you know, you can say it's like moving pieces around and it doesn't really make an impact, but I think the Blues wouldn't have made that trade if they didn't think that it was impact worthy. Right. So there's obviously some philosophy for them to do that, like in Doug Armstrong's mind. I think it's a low risk because you're giving up Corey Schooneman, and we haven't really seen a ton of at the NHL level. And potentially a high reward if you get back a defenseman that's a plus 19 on the season in a season so far where I think your best guy is like a plus 2. Like, that's a win in my book right now, right? So I think, low risk, high reward. You know, maybe nothing happens, but maybe something great happens. You never know. It's like any other trade.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he's 31 years old. He has familiarity here in the NHL. He's got familiarity here with the Blues. He's just a guy who is just going to continue to be able to put up points. He's going to be responsible. I mean, he's got 7 points in 9 games here with Hershey. Hershey's a good squad, but again, like at the end of the day, it's going to be just in more of like an insurance policy here for Doug Armstrong, like a break glass of a case of emergency. To me, when it comes to Logan Mailloux, and again, like we can be able to direct this back here to the Blues here in just a second, but when it comes to Logan Mailloux, he's a guy who I don't see them sending him back here to the AHL. Matthew Kessel here has been more than fine here as your number 6 defenseman, and this is still giving Logan Mailloux a chance to be able to still get acclimated here to the NHL, to the Blues system, and learning what he needs to be able to do. Mailloux, ever since he had that 3-4 game stint here that he was benched for, has looked a lot better. He still has his little bit of blunders. You know, he took those 2 minor penalties here in the game just the other night. But outside of that, I think he's looked substantially better. And so for that reason, like unless he's starting to show some massive regression, I don't think he's going anywhere. Anything that he needs to continue to learn here, almost just like a Dalibor Dvorsky, needs to be up at the NHL level. He's proven everything that he needs to in Springfield. I'm sorry, in the AHL. And I don't see him getting sent back down. I think he just continues to learn, progress, and sink, swim, struggle, whatever that you want to be able to call it, that he's just going to continue to do that here at the AHL level, or at the NHL level.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I also have really liked Matthew Kessel's game lately because it's very like low risk, low reward kind of, but he's like stout on the defensive end, which I think is really what this team needs right now, is a guy who's just like, I think Mayu's his claim to fame with his like high draft status, even though he asked people not to draft him, was like the offensive capability that's there. And I think that's why the Blues gave up Zachary Bolduc to go get him, is because they feel like they can tap into that eventually and bring it out of him by the time he, hits his prime. But for a guy like Matthew Kessel, it's just about defending the crease and defending the net and, giving Jordan Binnington a chance. And I think that he's done that in his time in the NHL so far, because we talked about it multiple post games. Like, if you're not noticing Matthew Kessel, like, he's doing his job. And I think I think that's kind of the consensus that I'm getting with him so far. Alongside that dude, like when we're talking about the defense, like I think Tyler Tucker so far, like overall, has been great for this team. Justin Falk has been phenomenal, especially compared to the season that like I'm sure like self-reflecting, like he was disappointed in the way that he played last season. And I think he's kind of come in this year and like set his personal world on fire, because I think he's been one of your better defensemen. I think where the Blues have struggled is, and I talked about this on Twitter, is the guys that you're banking on to drag you through games, and the guys that you're paying to drag you through games have struggled massively this season. I'm going to talk about Cam Fowler until I'm blue in the face, but that has been rough for the Blues. Yeah, no pun intended, I guess. But that's been rough for the Blues so far this season. I think he's trending in the right direction. I liked his game a little bit better tonight, but he also had a turnover that almost ended up in the back of the net directly. And with the Blues making mistakes right now, it feels like 95% of them are doing that. Like they just, as soon as that mistake happens, it's like the puck's in the back of the net. It's like, dude, they can't get away with anything. Colton Parayko has had games so far this season where he's struggled, and Philip Broberg, I think the last 3 games has really turned it on. And when he's moving his feet and driving the offense with his skates, I think that's his best form as a defenseman, right? Is like his best defense is a good offense, and like people holding like their ground and having to hold themselves accountable when he's on the ice, because he can blow past them at any given moment. I think he's doing that now. But I thought the reason that the Blues were successful tonight and the reason that they came away with the victory was because those 3 guys kind of pulled things together better than they have in the games previous. And those are the guys that you're relying on. And that's why you get the result in the positive manner, in my opinion.
Well, so with that being said, then here, I want to be able to get your opinion then for your money moment of the game. You want, again, talk about smooth transitions. I'm going to give you a run here for your money. The money moment of the game, brought to you again here by Home Bank, the team behind our team here at STL Sports Central. Visit myhomebank.bank or call 855-577-2001. What was your money moment here of the game?
I'm going to agree with the commenter Matt Malo 12 and say that I think Robert Thomas had his best game of the season in a absolute slugfest, going up against one of the premier teams in the entire NHL, has been for the last 5 seasons, or really since the arrival of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and Evan Bouchard, and you can run down the list of the powerhouse that they have, and it's why the power play has been so successful this season. 33% on the power play leads the league in the NHL right now, which is why we saw them go on top 1-0. But Robert Thomas did everything you could ask for him, especially in his first game back from injury, including finds the back of the net. It went off the post. It went off the goalie. It doesn't matter. That's going to help his confidence. That's going to help this team's confidence, because, like I said, they look to him as their catalyst, as their leader, as the most skilled player on the ice every time he steps on the ice. And for him to find the success that he had tonight against the literal boss battle juggernaut of the NHL and Connor McDavid, I think is my money moment of the game. So I'm going with Robert Thomas's goal.
Love that. You stole it here from me, but you know what? That's okay because I still got another here, great one, and I'm just going to continue to be able to just pump this guy up here. And Dalibor Dvorsky, I love, love, love this goal here again, just so much. I love me a good one-timer, and just be able to see the smile here on this face. I think this was just a huge, just rallying moment here for this team. Just be able to say, boys, we're in this. We're going to keep it going. We scored here on the power play. Let's get going. So for me, the money moment here of the game was absolutely going to be Dvorsky's the goal to be able to make it here a 2-1 game.
Absolutely. I love it. So to keep it going here, let's talk about where you want to go with this. You want to go Joel Hofer? Do you want to go like Washington Capitals? Or where do you want to segue to next? Segue King.
Oh, man, you're going to be able to put this false title here for me. So, I still want to be able to harp just a smidge, just a small little bit, because again, I wrote a piece here just the other day about how you're getting the Blues are paying here these guys, but they're not getting a return on their investment. And you saw a really good, strong return on your investment here today from Robert Thomas. You're getting dollar return on your investment, like for the guys that you're paying here, like those low level ones. And I'm going to include Dylan Holloway in that because he's getting paid like he's a middle six forward. He's not getting paid like one of your top producers here right now. And so dollar for dollar, Dylan Holloway is arguably producing like where you would want to pay him for. You are not expecting about to pay him because like you want to be one of your top line guys, but he's not producing like that here just yet. Again, once he starts producing that way, then great. We can be able to talk about him in that fashion. But right now, he's just not producing that way. You're not getting your defenseman to be able to play the way that you want them to be able to play. And that includes sometimes finding the back of the net. It's sometimes setting guys up. You're just not seeing that production. Joel Hofer is looking better. The defensemen are looking better. And so this is a trend here in the right direction. But again, you're looking just at a lot of players who are just not producing the way that you need to. And I think in order for you to be able to see these things move in the right direction, like you need your top line guys to be able to produce the right way.
Yeah, I think the chat's talking about Buchnevich, and I think that's the biggest one for me, right? And that's the one I think that's the elephant in the room that, people want to talk about or don't want to talk about depending on who you are. But I think yeah, dude, I think Buchnevich is always going to be seen as that top line talent because that's where he always is on the top line with Robert Thomas, whether it's, Jordan Kyrou, whoever else you slot in on that other side. It feels like Pavel Buchnevich has kind of been that staple on the other side. Yep. But I also agree with chat that even in tonight's game, it seemed like, I don't know, it's like there's almost like a disconnect between like the chemistry of like other guys and like understanding like where you're at on the ice, like at any given time without even like having to look for teammates, I feel like is huge for the success of any team, especially at the NHL level. And it feels like sometimes like Buchnevich's places where people are like, how was I supposed to know you were going to be over there? Like, or like, situations like that, which is not necessarily like damning of like an entire team. But on a team that feels like it emphasizes like hockey IQ as much as the St. Louis Blues do, it feels like there's just something off with like Buchnevich, and obviously the price point doesn't help that either. But I just right. Goals solve everything, and winning solves everything. So I don't want to harp on Buchnevich right now, but I think it's still a prevalent factor. And I know, Mike, you sent me during the game that on 32 Thoughts, Elliot Friedman was talking about the Blues looking around and Minnesota Wild looking around. I'm just wondering if, obviously, Buchnevich has a no trade clause, but like everyone has a no trade clause in the NHL now, so I don't even think that really means anything. Like all it means is you have to get his permission. I just wonder, and I'm not even sure that like trading Pavel Buchnevich is like what I want to do, especially if this team just starts trending in the right direction. I'm just curious if Doug Armstrong was poking around, which we talked on this show, that like it would make sense because that's how you kind of send a message to this team at this point. It's not going to be firing Jim Montgomery. I'm wondering like what names he was dangling when he was poking around, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's tough to be able to say here. And again, like, I don't want to sit here and just bash on Buchnevich because there's a lot of good plays that he has made. There's some amazing saves that have been made. Like he really has been the definition of poor puck luck moving against him right now, because he could have several goals here so far earlier this season. But I agree, like he just has not looked right. He has been struggling. He has been making good plays. It just hasn't really at times produced here on the score sheet here for him. And to try to be able to entertain the notion of a trade for Pavel Buchnevich, like you said, like he has the full no trade clause here right now. He's getting paid that $8 million here, and he's got 5 years there now left remaining, with this being year one. That's a lot for a team to be able to take on, and this is going to end up being a lot for a team to be able to take. And so I think if you were to try to move a top six forward here right now, at least in the terms here of St. Louis, moving on from a top six forward, it's going to be tough, because who do you get to be able to replace him? So that's my biggest thing. And this is not, as much as people want to say, okay, well, let's move him. This is not NHL 26. You can't just up and just move a guy. What are you going to get on your return? Are you okay with getting that return? Can guys be able to afford it? Can they, there's so many different factors that go into this. And is it going to ultimately make your team better? Because in my opinion, right now, moving out of Pavel Buchnevich, only a handful of games here into the season, it's not going to make the team better, depending on what you would get here in return. That's just
me. I think I would agree with that too. But I feel like I'm going to go on a tangent here. Aaron Dodson in chat, who's been here pretty consistently. So I appreciate you always hopping in the chat, whether we agree or disagree. And I chat, you guys know this, but even if you come in, disagree with everything that I say, agree with everything that I say, I just love talking about hockey, specifically the St. Louis Blues. And the discourse is always fun for me. So I'm never going to get pissed or mad at anyone that just has a different viewpoint than me. I just like seeing as many viewpoints as possible. So I just always appreciate everybody showing up in the chat. But Aaron says Kyrou needs to start scoring too. I've heard he has 40-goal talent. I don't think we will ever see it. I do like the fact that Jordan Kyrou had that point streak going. And I do think that Jordan Kyrou has game-breaking ability, kind of like what we were talking about with Robert Thomas, right? Like when teams get down, when teams are down 2 goals, 3 goals, right, and they need someone to drag them into battle. Yeah. Everyone on a team knows who they look to. If you're on Colorado Avalanche, it's Nathan MacKinnon. That dude can step on the ice, demand everybody's attention. He'll have 3 guys draped all over him, bully his way to the net, dangle 3 guys on the way there, and just enforce his will on the ice to drag his team back into the game and score at will. That's the kind of game-breaking potential that we're talking about. And I think that right now for the St. Louis Blues, that player, maybe it's not necessarily scoring, because he is I think one of the premier playmakers in the NHL. So maybe he has guys dragged all over him, he's warding them off and shielding, and finds a no-look pass that is just absolutely ridiculous and the smallest window possible. But I think that guy for the Blues right now is Robert Thomas, and that's why we're talking about his game tonight against Connor McDavid in such high regard. I think Jordan Kyrou has the capability to be that. But I also think in the event that Jordan Kyrou for the rest of his career with the St. Louis Blues is a second liner, and he leads your team in scoring and gets 30 plus goals a season, and has that chemistry with Dylan Holloway, and is a barn burner speed that you really don't have from a lot of many other guys in the lineup. I don't think that's oh, Jordan Kyrou's career is over. He was actually the worst, the biggest bust in saying, what I mean? He's a 2nd round pick. You're still on a ROI perspective, return on investment. That's positive for Jordan Kyrou. Yeah. Absolutely. And the ability to flex him in the event of injury, to flex him into a first line spot and really not have a gaping hole in your lineup, because a lot of teams will have a guy on a second line, right? And then you put him in a first line. I mean, Sam Bennett looks terrible this year, and just because he's slotting in a spot for Barkov, but it's not always that you're able to flex a person on that second line into that first line spot and not lose any pace. And I think for the Blues, that's a positive towards their depth in the form of Jordan Kyrou. And you can talk about the contract all you want, but the fact of the matter is, like, contracts are only going to get more expensive in the NHL. And we're actively seeing right now second liners that score like Jordan Kyrou does signed for more than $8 million. So I think long-term scenario, we're going to look back on Jordan Kyrou and see a productive player that wears his heart on his sleeve and wants to do everything he can for this city, score as many goals as humanly possible, wants to prove everybody wrong from the defensive side of the puck. And I think he's going to accomplish that. Like, the dude's driven, the dude's confident, and his work ethic is there. So there's no reason for me to think that, when people talk about Jordan Kyrou and all the negative things, maybe it's rose-colored lenses, but I love the dude's game and I love what he brings to this team. You're
on the high here from the win. And you know what? If you are really, really want to be able to put your money where your mouth is, download DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app here right now. Use code STL Sports. Grab $300 in bonus bets. Just a $5 bet when we go live here December 1st. That's code STL Sports.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
I'm getting pretty good at this. I'm
telling you, Bill, you're a natural. It's not bad at all.
All right, so we got Washington next. How you feeling? Again, rose-colored glasses. We're coming off the win. So, but we get Ovi. You don't have to worry about Nick Backstrom here anymore. He's over off in Sweden here right now. But you still have a pretty interesting and tough team and matchup here in the Washington Capitals. So, how you thinking? What are you thinking? How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, they're 6-5 on the season. So it's like, compared to the Edmonton Oilers, it's like, I mean, especially when you take into consideration like our play this season, I feel like everybody's still trying to figure out like who they actually are. And like we could get to the end of the season and the Washington Capitals like aren't even in the playoff picture. I think that's likely, like not necessarily, but like we really don't know yet. Right. So like they're playing 500 hockey right now, which I feel like a lot of teams are right around there. But the Blues are trending up. And I think riding a high of an Edmonton Oilers win, it should propel them into a good performance against the Washington Capitals too. That being said, I know people were speculating in chat, like, when do you think we see Hofer back? I think Jordan Binnington was fantastic tonight. I know you said you didn't like his first goal, but I still think like I've yet to really see any softies go in against him this season. Like I feel like a lot of the goals that are going in against him are more so the fault of, defensive assignments being missed or bad puck luck, like we've talked about, or careening off of like 7 dudes and it ends up on the guy's tape and Binner doesn't know where it's at. And the guy just happens to have a gaping net, like staring at, like shit like that, which you're just like, okay, what am I even watching? Like, how does that happen? But I think Hofer is I think he's a stud goalie, but I think he's kind of fighting it a little bit more than Binnington is right now. And if we're trending in the right direction, we keep building in the right direction. Like, and I think Hofer played like pretty solid in his last start. So maybe he's trending in the right direction too. And Jim Montgomery could disagree with me completely and be like, I saw some great things in his last start, enough like to give me confidence to start him again. And I'll agree with him because he's watching more of him day in and day out than I am. So like, who am I to tell him that he's wrong, right? Like, you just ride with the guys that you got. But I would like to see Jordan Binnington back in net just because I want him to string together like 2 consecutive wins. I think that would be huge for the team to like, because then 3 is a streak, as we know, right? And then if you've got the appeal of a 3-game win streak hanging over your head after you put together 2, like it almost doesn't matter who you play, because then you reach a next level of like, oh, if we win 3 in a row, it's a streak. And then, the ball starts rolling downhill. And next thing you know, like the Blues lose 7 games in a row, win 7 games in a row, and you're back to like 500. So Yeah, I think that's my philosophy on the Washington Capitals is ride the wave and ride the momentum. Like that's
Yeah.
every sport and I mean, we just saw it with the Dodgers in the World Series. I mean, my God, every single sport in a microcosm and on a macro level is momentum waves. We saw it last season down the stretch with the St. Louis Blues, and we saw it at the end of Game 7, 2 minutes left for the Winnipeg Jets. Like, just ride the wave and maximize the time that you're on that wave as much as humanly possible. And I think the Blues can do that right now by putting Jordan Binnington back in net and riding those momentum. And I think Dalibor Dvorsky can be a lightning rod for that too, because there's not many, like, I'm sure the boys are going to go out tonight, right? And I don't know if Dvorsky's probably going to get let into some bar because he's an NHL player. It doesn't matter how old he is, right? They're going to get him a couple beers. They're going to have a great time. They're going to create some fantastic memories, and they're going to laugh it up and be like, congrats on your first career goal. I hope you never forget this night. And he's going to be like, this is what it's like to be in the league. This is what it's like to be a goal scorer. I'm not leaving anytime soon. And that's going to all be in the back of their minds when they're stepping onto the ice against the Washington Capitals. All the good feelings they had after the wins compared to all the terrible feelings they had against the losses, and having to talk to the media every time and be like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Like, even Sonny was like, we just need to win. Like, I've got no answers other than like, we have to stop losing because it's good for nothing.
And
I think that's how you do it, is you get another W against Washington and then you go from there.
Yeah. And those conversations suck. Those are not fun conversations to be a part of. Like, you kind of just run out of questions to be able to ask them because it's the same questions just over and over here again. With it being a back-to-back, this is going to be an interesting one because, again, like, do you go with Hofer or Binnington against Washington, and then you turn right around and just less than 24 hours later, you're playing against Buffalo? So we also have the potential where you could see Joe Hofer here on one side going up against Colton Ellis here at the Buffalo Sabres here for his second career start. And boy, wouldn't that be fun?
That would be fun. That would be fun. Yeah. And I think if you're the Blues, you'd rather start Hofer against the Sabres anyway. So I think that lines up. I didn't realize it was a back-to-back, but yeah, I think that lines up perfectly because obviously I don't think Binner's going to play both of those regardless. Like,
no,
even if Joel Hofer was still in the midst of like, hey, you let in like 4 goals in the first period last game, I think he's still starting in a back-to-back scenario. So and like you said, that rivalry between the two would be awesome to watch.
Yep. And what sucks here too is we have Blues fans favorite Tom Wilson leading the Washington Capitals in points. 6 goals, 7 points in 12 games. Or sorry, 6 goals, 13 points. Sorry, 7 assists, 13 points in 12 games. I don't like that.
Pretty good.
I like it for my fantasy team because he's on my fantasy. So I like that. But I don't like it here for that purpose. So, but you got Ovechkin here now that he's down. He's only got 2 goals in the season, 7 points in 12 games. This is a team who I think the Blues could end up beating. Dylan Strome's got 11 points in 10 games. I don't know. I like the Blues' chances here with this. They're on a 4-game losing streak here right now. They're 5-4-1 here in their last 10. But boy, this is a team who's also looking for answers. So they could come out hungry and desperate, looking for a chance to be able to really be able to just prove something. Binner Wednesday, Hofer Thursday. That's what I think here is the best. Matt, yep, I agree here with you on that one. Buffalo's been struggling here as well. So this is a chance where we have the chance to be able to just make up some good points. Actually, if you look here at it, so you got Washington, who's 6-5-1. Then again, you go to Buffalo, if my app wants to be able to work. Sorry, 1 second. You got Buffalo, who is 5-4-3. The Seattle Kraken here then back at home, they are 5-2-4. And then you're playing the struggling Flames at 3-9-2 here right now. So the Blues have a chance to be able to just really, really earn their way and be able to just get some points here, just rack back up. Again, if they play down to the competition, though, I don't know.
It's up to them to keep this level of. I mean, we keep talking about it, but the Oilers are one of the best teams in the league in recent memory, and they will by all accounts be this season too. Like,
Yeah.
especially if they end up finding a goalie, like, and he hasn't even been like their goalies haven't even been bad yet. That's the thing. But it's like, I think that's the one thing that their fan base is clamoring for is like a true number one. But yeah, I think like tonight's game showed me like the St. Louis Blues team that we knew existed since the beginning of the season, and we just haven't really seen like in many games so far. This was like one of the first times where I was like, okay, maybe we weren't crazy about being like, yeah, I think they make it to the second round of the playoffs. Like, I think Jordan Binnington has a chance to like make a push for the Vezina Trophy. Like, first couple of games, I was like, my reads were way off. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like now it's starting to kind of even itself out. The balance is there, and it's like, okay, I wasn't crazy. They're just a little slow, and that's okay. Take your time and get there eventually. Like, slow and steady wins the race, but you can't take too much time. And I think it's also interesting to me. This was a terrible segue, by the way, but it's interesting to me that the Blues continually by like out of town media are viewed as like this old team of like veterans that are like, I mean, there are old players on the team, but I don't think they like what we're talking about tonight and what we witnessed tonight. And chat's doing a good job. Matt Malo again, highlighting Snuggerud and Dvorsky on the wings, on the power play, on the first power play unit. Like Jim Montgomery is very obviously being like, I'm going to try everything until we figure out something that works.
Right.
Now that he got a dub, I would bet money that he would go back to this next game, especially because Dvorsky just absolutely hammered that where grandma hides the cookies. I mean, my God, dude, I haven't seen a shot like that on the Blues power play in a while, since like Hoffman, and that's all he did was shoot like one time. Like that, he was a one-trick pony, and all he did was shoot one-timers. I think he scored like 10 goals for us, and it was for one season. But Dvorsky is like,
as long as he's a little bit more defensively responsible than Hoffman, I'm good, man.
And it already looks like he is. Like Chad was talking about the physicality, and like he looks like specifically this season he's playing a lot bigger than his size dictates, and that's kind of been like not the knock on him is his size and his skating ability, but like his skating ability too. Like it hasn't felt like I'm like, oh, he's got the puck. Like everybody's got to slow everything down because his hockey IQ is so high and his playmaking ability is so high. Like it doesn't matter how fast he specifically is moving as long as he's able to put it in the windows and knows where to go with the puck. And I think he is right now. But I know we were talking about like veteran players that are making a lot of money and that are essentially costing the Blues in terms of an ROI right now. I think there's an equal balance, if not more balance, tilted towards the youth side in players that the Blues have on their roster that are outplaying their contracts and that are also like wildly young in their development for this squad. And so it's funny that so many people are like, oh yeah, the Blues are old, like they're aging out, like their window is like closing or whatever, when really like internally, I don't know if you feel the same way, Mike, but I feel like the Blues are super young, and it's because the people that are driving the bus that we just witnessed tonight are like Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou, and your like core there, right? But then it's really like Jimmy Snuggerud, who played fantastic tonight, Dalibor Dvorsky, who played fantastic tonight, and at times even like Joel Hofer as your backup goalie. Obviously, this season has been up and down for him, but like those are all youth studs that have come up in development. Like, can you imagine what the Cardinals would look like with like how many names in their lineup that came up through their development and are actually like producing? You'd have like 4 Mason wins and not a struggling like Jordan Walker. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the Blues are in a good spot to be good for the next like 5 to 6 years past this season. But it feels like everybody's like, yeah, they're old.
Yeah, nope. And this is something that Doug Armstrong has done a beautiful job here with, where he's got his current core, but meanwhile he's got his second layer just down below, and they're just building, they're developing, they're marinating, they're doing everything that they need to, so that as their current core just continues to just move up and up and up, then the second core is ready to take over, and you can kind of do this flip. And that's, I think, what you're going to start seeing here over the next season or two, is where you start getting more and more here of your Stenbergs, your Dvorskys, your Snuggeruds, any of these guys like that. They're going to be able to start coming up and start replacing some of these other veterans. And that's exactly what you want to be able to see here, just continue here just long term.
Yeah, I think so too. So we are getting 45 minutes in, so we're going to start wrapping it up here soon. But Mike, before we go, give me your score prediction for the St. Louis Blues versus the Washington Capitals, and give me your first star of the game as well. We're going to double up on predictions here.
So I'm going to end up going with another. I'm going to go bold and say 4-2. 4-2 St. Louis here against Washington. I think the last score prediction that I said was going to be 4-2, and I was right. So I'm going to double down here with it and about to go 4-2. If I had to go here with my number one star here of the game here tonight, I'm just going to go here with Robert Thomas. He was an absolute difference maker here for this squad. And I don't think that this squad performs that well here tonight without the injection here of Thomas in the lineup.
I like that. I like that prediction. I'm gonna go with 3-1, and I'm also gonna do an anytime goal scorer for all you guys betting. Use DraftKings Sportsbook. Shameless plug. We're doubling up on this one. But anytime goal scorer, Dalibor Dvorsky, odds have to be great. And I think now that he's got the first one, the monkey off his back, I think they're going to come in bunches because, like I said, I think he's going to be on that power play one again with Robert Thomas and Jimmy Snuggerud. If I had to bank on it right now, I would say absolutely, because they got the W. So I'm going to say Dalibor Dvorsky scores a goal. I don't think he's going to be first star of the game. I think they're going to give it to Jordan Binnington. I think he's going to be standing on his head. I think it's going to be 3-1, not because Washington had a lack of chances, but because Jordan Binnington buttoned down the hatches, similar to what he's done all season. I think the Blues come away with the victory and keep the car going in the right direction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we have gone on here way too long. I know that I'm going to be tired here in the morning, so don't forget to be able to just pick up your Drink Thunder. I know that this is going to be a great one here for just like some pre-workout. But hey, if you're just looking for a little bit of like an extra kick, fuel your fire here with Drink Thunder, the all-natural pre-workout that just hits different. Plant-based, fruit-powered, zero sugar, sweetened naturally here with monk fruit. I don't even know what monk fruit here is, but man, it sounds delicious. Good and stuff. I got to get some. Each serving's packed with vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants to ignite your energy and push your performance here to the next level. All these sound great here, man. Orange mango, blackberry lemonade, strawberry cream. Feel the rush the natural way. Order now at drinkthunder.com.
Oh, like we said, that is all the time we have for today, but we will see you guys after the Washington Capitals game and post games here on Blue Central all season long. After every game, you can find us here on STL Sports Central's YouTube for live immediate reactions to every single win, because the Blues will never lose again for the rest of this season. I can promise you that. Make sure you follow us on all socials, STL Sports Central on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, whatnot, YouTube Shorts. It doesn't matter what you have, what you're looking for, where your attention is. We're going to be there. Hopefully they come away with a victory. Hopefully we get a Dalibor Dvorsky anytime goal scorer. Might have to go over to Illinois to check out the odds on that one. And as always, I am Thomas Welch. He is Mike Meyer. We thank you guys so much. And for chat, keeping it rolling all night long. Ace, Samuel Howe, Nadinja, Aaron Dobson, Malat. We had so many tonight, and you guys are always bring so much to the discourse and the conversation. We appreciate you guys because we don't have a show without you. We'd just be two yahoos talking to each other, which is fun. I'm not going to lie, but it is way more fun with you guys in the fold. So we appreciate you. We will see you in the post game against the Washington Capitals. Hopefully the Blues come away victorious. Peace.